Hi Sandeep, how are you?
All very good. How about you? All good?
I'm good, all is well. Long time. It's really been long, huh? I was really hoping that I'm gonna catch up with you today, and yes, it happened. It eventually happened. They say, na,
Thank you.
once you choose hope, anything is possible. So I chose hope. And when I think about it, Sandeep, this, thinking about hope and future, this is something that keeps coming to my mind. What do you have to say about it?
Firstly, I think so nice of you to say when you think of hope, you wanted to speak to me on hope and future. It's lovely. And I think hope is eternal, hope is infinite. So I want to begin with that. Uh, I have been, like many others, watching the Olympics and following the Olympics. And in particular, I've been following the refugee teams. Uh, I saw them virtually in Rio, but there were so many time differences that sometimes one didn't see all the events. But I'm following all the participants of the refugee Olympic team this time, which the Olympics Committee has put up from different countries. I think there are 29 or so athletes. And I've been reading their stories of kind of struggles they went through uh, to even represent in that team and where they are. Some people who touched across from Sudan into Israel and then are now competing in the 5,000 meters steeplechase, I think that's called, 5,000 meters event. We hope for future, we realize our dreams, and it's not an individual enterprise. So in some ways, it relates to me, and it's good you're talking of this subject because that's something, Shivali, I see in my work. My work as a social worker, I work with ActionAid Association, and we work with vulnerable and exploited and poor communities across the country. So one thing that I find most, and which inspires me most, which keeps me going day after day, which keeps me happily sleeping in the night, which keeps me in a love for life, so to say, yeah? Is this thing called hope. Hope which a domestic worker's child has for future. And then she was telling me, she wants to learn football. So I promised to her something that, okay, Bhaichung Bhutia it is. And we then, of course, went to Bhaichung Bhutia's academy. I'm talking with them and still hasn't realized. But the fact is, she wanted to become something else. She may not escape it. But that elixir of life, so to say, that eternal quest for becoming what you wish to be, all your dreams, all your aspirations bundled into something called hope, yeah, and something
I
called
know.
an imagery.
What comes to my mind is the quote here, by Desmond Tutu. He said, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness."
Yeah, since you're talking of quotes, let me counter one of the quotes which from somebody who inspires millions across the world, Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, disappointments are finite, but hope always is infinite. And I think,
Ab-
yes, and I think he stood for one of the struggles, which is still a struggle in the making. Yeah, Shefali, it's not something which has been accomplished. Race relations are not the way they should be this century. Yeah, but the fact remains that Martin Luther King and his struggle groups in the US in the 60s and earlier and later inspired a generation of people who were in the US as slaves. And just imagine, hadn't they had a hope, hadn't they had an aspiration, hadn't they had a struggle, uh, the world history would have been very different today. I don't think it's ideal. I don't think it's ideal. You see race riots even sort of unfolding any other day. You see in our country caste relations, which I was just reading a Twitter handle thing going on today about Kataria, Vandana Kataria, of how people are sort of talking about her. But yeah, the struggle which Dr. Ambedkar inspired was a struggle driven by hope, was a struggle driven for an egalitarian future. And things are very different today. And of course, these are journeys not completed, as I call them. These are incomplete tasks of nation building still, but that's what I want to talk to.
It's true. I think hope is very important because that makes us think that there is future. And only when we hope do we, actually start working on our dreams and aspirations. And then we have dedication towards them, we are persistent, and then there is a possibility of bettering our future for anyone. Like when I know the kind of work that you are doing for the betterment of the society, it really means a lot, Sandeep. I mean, what must have really come to your mind when you started initially? Tell me about it.
I spent my childhood, the part that I remember most, because we traveled a lot, but a long part of that childhood I spent in now what is called the state of Jharkhand. Then, of course, it was Bihar, and the struggle for autonomous state or a new state was on by the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha then. And I went to a school where we shared the space with a lot of children from Mundari tribal communities. And happily so, the school didn't have the kind of boundaries that schools have now of letting in some and not letting in other basis of class and ability to pay. And so among my friends were a range of course it was a boys' school, so range of Mundari, what you would call tribal boys. And so I spent a lot of time playing with them and learning with them and being at their households and seeing the life that they had. In later years in life, and that possibly drove the life decisions, apart from my own family background and inspirations. But later on in years, I joined this subject called anthropology with an interest to study and to understand societies better. And in those years, I went and lived in one of the Mundari tribal households in Jharkhand state, of course, in the Puti block of Jharkhand state, if that means anything. But with one family, old man and woman, I haven't been in touch more recently. I hope they're all well. Whose children, both sons, were away in Punjab as agricultural workers. So living with that family for a year, of course, my objective then was participant observation, objective of a budding social anthropologist, which I never turned out to be in later years, because I came to social work and this kind of social change work. But the kind of things I saw there, Shefali, and the kind of struggles that I certainly inspired some of the life decisions in a large part of what I chose to do subsequently, and where my passion took me, and where my imageries and the worldview got established. We all develop a worldview, and it is in living with that family, it's in living in those early years, roaming around in the tribal huts. Since I was there for a year, and we had these weekly huts where all young boys and girls would gather to date, quite apart from trading issues and other things about buying and selling. Social life kind of aspirations they had, the kind of imageries they had, the kind of struggles they were then on to, the kind of hope, to come back to what you began with, of a new state and a tribal state which will fulfill a lot of incomplete tasks which still remain unfulfilled. In essence, 30 years, about 30 years into the state formation. And I saw a lot of those things breaking, because you develop friendships, but the struggle goes on. So quite aside from this individual aspect called hope, and we've been talking a lot of that just now, is this thing about an enabling condition which makes it happen. And that's what essentially what we think of a welfare state, right? So it'll create conditions of enablement for a lot of aspirations to materialize, for a lot of entitlements to happen, for a lot of hopes to flourish and hit the ground running. And that's where the idea of struggle comes in, because you have huge things to still do, and incomplete things, unfinished agendas. Those very aspirations remain sometimes at the level of aspirations unrealized, and it's a quest. And so the idea of struggle per se inspires millions, whether it's on account of the freedom struggle of ours. We're nearing our Independence Day, so we are talking to each other, and we want to talk to a lot of people about what inspires us today, what kind of a 21st century we should see our national progress towards. What are those unfinished tasks and agendas? How we as a welfare state, how we as people of this land, how we people, as people of any land but who are now on this land, how we can make them all realize, and whatever it takes, peaceful struggles, building pressures of the state, coming together, forming friendships, forming bonds of togetherness and solidarity. In human history, Shefali, it's solidarity and it's cooperation which has a much greater role to play, as several have said, than competition has ever had. So you and we all know that we need to build a different world order, a different sort of social order as well.
Agree with you. To keep it light, Sandeep, I need to know who has been your inspiration.
I just named one. Certainly, Martin Luther King was one.
I know, but I don't know somebody else other than Martin Luther.
Dr. Ambedkar has been an inspiration. Mahatma Gandhi has been an inspiration. Mother Teresa has been an inspiration.
Wow.
My own board chair, Madam Shabana Azmi, is an inspiration for me. So I've been working in this work as well. I've been working very closely with her. So she continues to be an unending source of inspiration for me. So closer home, my father's an inspiration. Yeah. So I think in years to come, I'm sure my daughters would be an inspiration as well.
But I'm sure you are also inspiring so many people out there. That is the beauty. How much ever we get, whatever we receive, we also give to people, isn't it?
Yeah, we are what is transmission bells. What is within us is without us. So I mean, we are one integrated. Shefali, I believe that we are one integrated self. So what we are inside, we turn out to be outside.
I completely agree. When we're all integrated souls, and I vouch for this, that somewhere deep inside we're all very simple. There is a simplicity to our souls, but it's just that when we are busy interacting with the outside world, we do get confused and we get carried away by many things in the world. But when we are left, and when we actually are left to think on our own by ourselves, we will realize that we are very simple somewhere in deep inside.
Apart from other things, this time of pandemic somewhere has in my own way, if I may say, I used to travel a lot, 20 days a month, 22 days a month on the trot, and that's been curtailed certainly during lockdowns and even otherwise in the past year, and that means you have a lot more time to yourself and a lot more regular schedule kind of thing, which is a blessing, honestly speaking. Reflect. And I think it's very useful to get that little. I don't mean to talk about COVID, but it's just that it has given, because that's also meant another range of sufferings for millions. But aside from that, personally, it also gives you a little more time to reflect on who you are, what you wish to be. Sometimes we get so very busy in the rut and the running of life. It's not really the rut, the running, the deadlines to meet and things to accomplish, unending uh, tasks to be done. You don't get time to think, you don't get time to introspect, and I think it's in that sense you realize essentially who you are, who you wish to be, what you could do better. But much more than that, essentially, you really don't have big needs. Yeah. You really don't have big needs. You need you need a small room, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, pandemic has really taught us a lot of values. We have realized a lot of things that we were doing probably were futile, and it's given us people who have actually spent time with themselves. I'm sure they would come out as better people.
Sure,
Emerge as better.
sure, sure.
And yeah, go ahead, Sandeep.
No, I'd like to believe that. I'd like to believe that, and I've seen that with my own colleagues. We've been, working with so many people during this time as well, remotely or where possible physically. You see people lot more focused, uh, a lot more, sort of doing things that they would want to do. Also, a lot more
And that's what we
introspective.
want. And that's exactly what we want in life. People should do things that they really want to do and not run in that rut or a race that is meant for somebody else, maybe, and they're just doing it because others are doing it. A lot of times I think this is a very good time for everybody to do introspection and to learn what really means to them, what is close to their heart, what they can be, like an extension of. And when you're doing anything, when you're doing things which are actually an extension of you, it doesn't seem like work at all. And obviously the hope that we talk about, the hope gives us new meaning to our lives. It's like, using wings in a different manner. That's exactly what I feel. There was this beautiful thing that I read that I want to share with you, which is, they say a person just needs 3 things to truly be happy in this world: someone to love, something to do, and something to hope for.
Lovely,
You know,
lovely.
and actually, when you think about it, I think, my God, there's so much beauty to what people say sometimes. It's good to just hear them out. We spend a lot of time just running around. We forget to be in the nowness. That is the biggest flaw that people do.
And I hope we all embrace it, an opportunity to reset. So it's not only about building to where it was. Some say building back better, but I think it offers really a reset possibility. Individually, yes, as you've spoken, but also socially, and also collectively. So things that we ought to have done as a society, as the world society, as a society within our land, things which are really wrong, things which should be stopped, whether it's the way we live our lives, the consumption sort of mania that there is, the greed that there is, uh, but also the oppressions that there are of various kinds, the inequalities that they exist. So it offers a great opportunity to reset and correct those paths, because in some ways it caught the world to a standstill, yeah, for a bit. And it's not just individually, but collectively also. A lot more introspection, I believe, has happened and should happen at this moment. And it therefore offers us a path which needs to diverge from where we were headed. A path which is, ecologically a dead end, socially not a desirable path, where you see people more and more unequal, men and women, caste, of course, we've spoken to, race, ethnicity, religion. So a society which is harmonious and I think which is egalitarian is certainly a dream. It's certainly a hope, social hope for millions and millions. And it's certainly a future that we need to not just foretell. So it's not a future foretold, yeah, but it's a future to be realized. And I do think there is a great possibility at this moment. We are in the 21st century. We don't want to wait another century or wait another pandemic to happen. Some people say pandemic.
Don't want to wait. No, I think this is a good time. We have all learned our lessons, and I think what Sandeep just said was beautiful. I think what really matters is let's hope for a better future, and just hoping is not enough. Obviously, we have to work towards it. That's very important. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for taking out this time for me and having this conversation. I really appreciate. Thank you so much. Any
Thank
last
you, Shefali.